My name is Sarah Ortiz. I'm president of the Sonoma County Public Library Foundation. I want to welcome all of you, donors, community supporters, and friends of the Sonoma County Library to our very first virtual event. In lieu of our annual chocolate and cinema fundraiser at the Rialto Theater in Sebastopol, we are holding an online chocolate and wine tasting. I hope you're as excited as I am to learn about the chocolates and wines from an expert. Before we get started, I want to talk to you a little bit about how the Zoom will proceed. We will have the chat function open throughout the event. It'll be at the top or the bottom of your screen. Please try to reserve the chat for panelists who will be sharing links to important information throughout the event. And to ask panelists questions and participate in the questions and answers after the tasting, look for the Q&A button on the Zoom toolbar. Please type your questions there, and questions will be answered live. And if we have any remaining questions, they'll all be answered on the Library Foundation blog. Lastly, be ready to interact as we'll be sending some polls your way. Starting with the very first one, here comes the first poll. Do you have a Sonoma County Library card? Give it a couple of seconds so everybody can have the chance to answer the poll. All right, it looks like everybody got the chance to answer, and it looks like a lot of you already have a card. If you don't, you can get a digital card number online at any time and access the different offerings that the library has during COVID-19. So before we start with the chocolate and wine tasting, I want to briefly share with you why the Sonoma County Public Library Foundation exists and highlight the accomplishments that our donors, including you, have made possible. Our mission is to provide funding for equitable access to Sonoma County Library services. Because of our generous donors, the Library Foundation has granted over $650,000 to Sonoma County Library programs during the last 6 years. The foundation is a nonprofit that raises monies for the extras that help the Sonoma County Library provide more of everything to patrons at no cost, like ebooks, e-audiobooks in English and Spanish, laptop kits with Wi-Fi hotspots, adult literacy, summer reading, children's programs, reading and reference services, and virtual programs for kids and seniors. Our donors make all of this possible. Speaking of donors, I want to announce that we have a matching grant. We collaborated with board members, library management, and library commissioners to offer a matching grant of $1,500 during this event for a total goal of $3,000. I want to say a big thank you to everyone who has already donated toward the grant. Without our wonderful board, library staff, and library commissioners, this wouldn't be possible. And I want to specifically thank you to Commissioner Barbara McKenzie, Commissioner Tom Hauser, Commissioner Andy Elkind, Commissioner Joel Newberg, as well as Library Director Ann Hammond, Fund Development Manager Siri Tonger, and Communications Manager Ray Hawley. Thank you for your generous donations and collaborating with the foundation to offer this matching grant. It really shows just true leadership. And now I'm going to turn over the show to Chef Robert Buttercup Nieto and wine educator Ben Fine. Chef Buttercup is going to tell you a little bit about himself, but I just want to say we are so excited to have an incredible chef that has competed and won international pastry competitions, taken on television pastry competitions, and started Fleur Sauvage chocolates right here in Sonoma County. Here's Chef Buttercup.
Well, we have wine, so that's good. All right, so back to the beginning. I just want to say thank you so much for inviting me and being part of this Library Foundation. This is, and thank you to everybody for coming out and joining us to do this chocolate and wine pairing virtual tasting. You're in for a treat, and this, it's all about having fun here today. And again, Chef Robert, also known as Chef Buttercup, and I was, when you're a pastry chef, your executive chef always has to give somebody a nickname, and it happened to be Chef Buttercup, and I was just like, great. But then, I thought about it after a while. I was like, it's kind of catchy. Kind of don't remember a Robert, but Chef Buttercup, you'll remember for sure. So I've been with Kendall Jackson for 12 years, and it's been really fun working there and doing amazing things. And just kind of give you a little bit of highlights of what I've done in the past. In 2016, I was top 10 pastry chef by Dessert Professional magazine. They reached out and said I was selected. I was like, oh my God, this is really cool. And such an honor to be a part of that, where I actually got to go to New York and make amazing dessert for them. And my family flew out and got to experience what I do in my profession. Also in 2018, I was also part of the United States pastry team where I actually got to compete in Paris, France. It's called Mondial d'Art Sucré. It was just an amazing experience where, you know, we had to create chocolate sculpture, sugar sculptures, plated desserts, customized cakes. And the crazy thing about this is I was selected 3 months before the competition. So I was just like, once I jumped on board, I really had to push myself to do this. And we came in 5th place out of 16 countries, which is pretty amazing. And then also, if you haven't seen, I was actually on the Food Network. It was Beat Bobby Flay. I didn't go up against him, but I think we would have been a pretty good match seeing Bobby to Bobby. Hopefully at some point, I'll be able to go on that show again. And then also did Holiday Wars. If you haven't seen it, you can actually tune in on Hulu. And I know it's still showing because a chef of mine actually said he just watched it about a month ago. So it's pretty cool. So if you haven't seen it, you know, holidays are coming up, so it would be a great time to actually watch it. And then I was also on Cookie Wars. And then soon, in about a month, we have another show that just came on that's going to be coming out November 15th, which is called Candyland. That's all I can really say about it. So just be on the lookout. That'll be on the Food Network. And then also, me and my wife actually started a chocolate company. It's just been something I really want to do after I finished culinary school. I really want to start something. I just didn't know what it was going to be. And then it turned out it was chocolate. I just love chocolate. I just love the versatile, what you can do with chocolate. Just really cool things, you know, with the sculptures, plated desserts, or chocolate candy. So we actually started Fleur Sauvage Chocolates. As you can see, I have my shirt on, so definitely supporting my company here. And I actually, Tara, do you want to come in here real quick? Oh, so my wife didn't come in. But we started this chocolate company. We do chocolate bonbons, we do tablets, we do candy bars. And, you know, what's really unique about this, we actually do a lot of pairings with our chocolates. We do wine pairings, we do whiskey pairings. It's just been a lot of fun doing this. And yeah. And, you know, also do chocolate sculptures as well too. So yeah, it's been a lot of fun. And now I would like to actually introduce our wine educator from Jackson Family Wine is Ben Fine.
Thank you. Hi folks, thank you so much for having me. My intro nor my accolades are nearly as long as Chef Buttercup's, but I've been with Kendall Jackson and Jackson Family Wines for 7 years. The first 2 years I actually started in Mexico doing sales, and that was the first time that I met Robert and Tara, which was great. We got to work some events and we've been friends ever since. And for the last handful of years, I've been in education. And wine education is a lot of fun. I get to spend time in vineyards, in wineries, hanging out with our business partners and our extended friends and family, which is, of course, you all. So thank you for supporting our wines. And one of the best parts of my job is doing things like this, right? Working with our culinary team, especially Chef Buttercup, and creating experiences, because, you know, wine can sometimes be intimidating, but it's really not. And it's about getting the most out of it. And once again, thank you, Library Foundation, for letting me join you. And I know nothing pairs as good with a book as a glass or two of wine. So I'm sure you all are very familiar with enjoying wine. And we're just going to bring a new aspect of how to enjoy wine and chocolate to you. I don't have a nickname, but I have this mint shirt on and black shorts. So I could be Mint Chip today if y'all would like that. And so once again, thank you for having me. And I think, are you going to jump into a demonstration now? Perfect.
All right. So we're going to move a little bit of this around. And I just kind of want to show you, you know, these are our beautiful chocolates that we handmade everything right there. And to make those, I use these molds right here. This is called a polycarbonated mold. So it's like hard plastic. This is like, you'll get beautiful shine off your chocolates. You can use thermal plastics forms, but you just won't have the same application and the same like shine on it. So this is kind of what I use right here. And so when you're working with these, it's always important that we polish these molds. So we use soft cotton and polish every single mold. As you can see, this is about 24 cavities here, and there's some that are 40 cavities. So it's a little bit of tedious work, but at the end results, you end up with a beautiful chocolate. So this is what I use. And when we're designing chocolates, we're always trying to think like, thinking flavor profiles and how we can get that color on these molds to kind of mimic that flavor inside. So usually we do a tempered cocoa butter and we actually color them inside. And after that is set, we let it sit just like chocolate. Chocolate and cocoa butter is what I use here. And so it has to set before you actually pour chocolate in there. I'm just gonna give you a quick demo of how I do that. So this is what I use, my everyday use. These are called chocolate melters. And it basically has a pan inside that already has chocolate. So this is a chocolate pan. Inside of it has heating elements, so it keeps it nice and warm and melted. So when you're creating chocolates, I have a nice, good quality chocolate. Most important, it's not a Hershey's chocolate. This is Ecuador chocolate that I'm using. As you can see, the fluid on that is really nice and runny is what you want. So I'm just going to show you really quick what I do. So basically, I just pour chocolate in there. And when you're pouring that in there, you got to think the chocolate is tempered. So you always want to tap it. This is a chocolate scraper. So you tap it to get any air bubbles out. And then once it's ready, you just flip it over into the pan. As you can see, you tap it to get it out. And most important, you don't want a thick chocolate shell. So I give it a tap on there until the chocolate starts. If it stops, that's usually when the indication that it's starting to set a little bit. And then you scrape across underneath, and then you can see you just clean your mold to get any excess chocolate. And then so you end up with a very clean chocolate mold, and then you let that set. And then that usually takes probably about 15, 20 minutes, depending on the temperature of the room. So we'll set that to the side. And here I have one that's already pre-made. And this is where I did airbrushed in red and a little bit of gold. And this is what it looks like when it's set, as you can see. And I'll show you because I'll pull one out for you guys. So very easy how it comes out. You can see it's super shiny. And that's what we do. This is how we make these beautiful creations on these bonbons. Move that to the side. And that's how you do the chocolate bonbons. So I'll turn it over to Sarah right now.
Hi, everybody. I just wanted to give a quick update on the one-to-one match grant. We've already raised $500 more. So we're already at $2,000. Thank you so much for your generosity. As we all know right now during COVID-19, all of the libraries are closed, the buildings themselves, but that doesn't mean library services have stopped. And in fact, our library has stepped up to try to offer more digital services. If you've seen any of the presentations that librarians are doing online, and they've expanded library resources, including e-audiobooks and e-books. And I just want to say thank you to the library for everything they're doing right now. It's difficult when we can't do regular events and regular library services, but that doesn't mean that the library isn't stepping up to offer us wonderful opportunities to engage with our community virtually. There's even virtual book clubs and other events online. So I'm curious and excited to see what the library comes up with next. The foundation is very interested in donating to further expand digital resources, including our upcoming grant to expand Wi-Fi from the buildings themselves. As we all know, Wi-Fi is becoming more of a utility and less of a luxury. And especially right now, children, adults, we all need Wi-Fi to either get on to school, do our jobs, entertainment, endless amounts of things that we all use Wi-Fi for every single day. I'm trying to imagine what I don't use Wi-Fi for. The library has really stepped up to expand Wi-Fi beyond simply the buildings. For example, in the town of Windsor, the library's Wi-Fi extends into the town green. So you could be sitting on the town green and using the library's Wi-Fi. We are going to donate in this next week $25,000 so that the library can continue expanding Wi-Fi from the buildings, so that even though patrons can't go inside right now, unfortunately, they can either sit in a public park nearby a library, sit on benches outside the library, as I've seen people doing at the Sebastopol Library. They can sit in their cars in the library parking lot. There's different opportunities depending on the library, but the library is thinking about you and how they can help serve their patrons right now. And I know the librarians are going way above and beyond to think outside the box. And the Library Foundation is thinking about how can we help the library bring those services to you. And so those match donations really count towards, every dollar counts towards making a difference in our community. And I want to say thank you. And so with that, I'll let you get started on the wine tasting, Robert. I'm very excited. I already have my wine. It's right here and I'm ready to eat the chocolate. I've been patiently waiting. So we're ready for the wine and well, I've already had some wine, but I'm already ready for the chocolate.
Thank you. So before we actually get started, I think we want to talk about the wines a little bit.
Yeah, that'd be great.
And don't eat your chocolate yet. We're actually going to just let you know, we're going to quarter each chocolate because we want you to try just a little bit of the chocolate first with the wine. And we're going to do that with each single one. So just bear with us if you want to cut your chocolate in 4 little pieces, and then we'll go through the whole chocolate and wine pairing tasting.
Awesome. So the 2 bottles that you should have with you are both from Kendall Jackson. The white wine is the Vintners Reserve Chardonnay, and you may be familiar with this wine already, and it's a great selection for this. Now, when you think wine and chocolate, there's a lot of myths. People say a lot of different things, but what's great about this Chardonnay is it's a crowd pleaser. It offers a lot of different things in terms of a range of citrus, fruit, tropical fruit, and orchard fruit. When I say orchard fruit, think things like pear, apple. But then there's some other things going on with the structure of it, and there's touches of oak. And I don't want to dive too much into that because it's really going to shine once we get into this pairing. But it's a really great Chardonnay to work with. And you'll notice as it warms up a little bit in your glass that you're going to have some more aromas and flavors come out, which is fun to watch the evolution of it. And then we also have Kendall Jackson Vintners Reserve Cabernet Sauvignon. And, Cabernet is really popular around here, and there's a big spectrum of different styles. And what's great about this one is it's not really, really big, heavy tannin being what dries you out when you have those red wines. It's there, but it's a little more approachable, elegant, because, and that reminds me, you might want to have some water, which goes great with wine and chocolate. But what's nice about this cab is there's a lot of fruit to it. It's soft, and it's going to do really, really well with this chocolate. So we're going to do a very, very fast version of tasting wine, because this session isn't about tasting wine, it's about the wine and chocolate, but just so everyone understands what's going on. Now, just looking at the wine, it can tell us a couple things. These things aren't important today, but when we look at the color and we see the core in the middle compared to the outside rim, if there's a big variation, your wine might be getting up there in age. We can see this is a nice young wine. The color doesn't change much at all. I also looked at the label, it's 2018. So we know that, right? You saw Buttercup give it a swirl. If you're worried about spilling, go ahead and push onto something hard and on your surface or any table and push down. It makes it a little easier. You won't worry about spilling. We can't see you, but no one wants to spill on yourself. And then go ahead and give your wine a smell. And don't just do one, do a big sniff, do a sniff far away, find your range, right? We're all different. We all, the way our senses work, it's really individual, and we're sort of warming ourselves up, right? We can pick up over 10,000 different aromas. Smell and memory are so tied together. So, when you get these, like I said before, you might be getting floral notes, fruit notes, some tertiary things from earth to baking spices, something nutty. And so we're just kind of sort of warming ourselves up. This might not be your first glass of the day. It is Sunday. And then we're going to go ahead and taste it. And you're going to hear me the first taste I do. Sounds like it's mouthwash, right? I don't do that with every sip. That'd be quite obnoxious. But the reason I do that is we all pick up different flavors in different parts of our palate. Everyone's different, but we're going to get things like bitter, savory, sweet, sour. So we're just waking up the palate, getting ready to go. And so that's the idea. And for those who want to know, we can see chats coming in, but we can't see the questions. I think we're going to get to that at the end. But I think the best way to do it would give a sip of wine before the chocolate and after. Don't do whatever feels comfortable, but we want to see how the wine enhances the chocolate and how the chocolate enhances the wine. So don't worry, you can't have too many sips with us. And with that, should we jump into it?
Yeah, absolutely. Cool. So yeah, I just kind of want to reiterate, what he was talking about, this wine, so, it's always important to smell the wine, and temperature is really important too. So a nice little chilled on this wine is very important. Even when you smell it, you get those beautiful notes of, like almost like Granny Smith a little bit, lemon zest, maybe a little hint of vanilla. And so, with this first pairing, I was totally thinking almost like a lemon cream pie. So this is what we're doing with the first one. As you can see, this is our lemon bonbon. So this is actually made with our Meyer lemons from our property. I thought it'd be a perfect combination, doing white chocolate and lemon together. And it's just kind of beautiful. It's very silky, creamy, kind of get that buttery a little bit. So it's definitely going to be one of those pairings that really enhances, with this wine. So I think first, we talked about, cutting your chocolate quarter in, so you're not eating all your chocolate at once.
And if you haven't yet, take your photo. Chef Buttercup is an expert in creating desserts that look so good you almost don't want to eat, and then you do, and they're delicious, but really photo-friendly foods.
All right. Yeah, so again, take a little sip of your wine.
Yeah, I mean, fruit off the bat, right? And if you're getting some acid, right, you might be salivating from the tongue, but definitely citrus and tropical, but nothing heavy. Maybe like a little bit of pineapple, but for me, it's that lemon you talked about.
Yeah, absolutely. So the reason why I'm having you cut your chocolates, because we're going to do a little quick experiment while we're tasting these chocolates, and how they pair with a white wine, but then we're going to try it with maybe the red wine and how that pairs really well too. So this is the reason why we're having your chocolates cut up into 4 little pieces, so you can taste it with the white and with the red. But we'll get to that once we start going through these pairings. So since you already have a little bit of that Chardonnay in your mouth, we'll taste a little bit of the white chocolate. Saying again, put it in your mouth. Almost like wine, right? You just want to let it sit, kind of melt in your mouth, and just kind of like move it right on your palate. And then try it with your wine.
Yeah, for me, I mean, it was like citrus and fruit on that first sip, and then you have this incredibly delicious white chocolate. The lemon's there, but then for me, when I go back to the wine, that creaminess sort of shows the creaminess of the Chardonnay, which really, because this wine spends time in oak, that's where you get that, but it wasn't so evident until that delicious piece of chocolate.
Yeah.
Wow. And I'm mouth-watering a little bit.
So this is kind of cool. I mean, we just think about like the Chardonnay and like how it pairs with this, and like they're so parallel with each other, and it just totally works. And then we'll try the next one, which is our orange honey. Again, this is, you can see it's orange, little yellow, orange, and honeyish looking. So this one's infused with a little bit of orange zest. And, when you make ganaches, this is what is inside of a bonbon, is called a ganache. And a lot of your questions are asked, like, what is a ganache? And then basically it's chocolate and cream are mixed together that creates a ganache. And basically they're emulsified. So if you think of like a dressing, when you emulsify like a Caesar dressing, you're emulsifying a liquid with fat and it comes together. same kind of process what we do with chocolate as well too. So as you taste it, it's kind of like that cookie, very creamy. It's just because when I mix those together, you get that beautiful texture. So that's a ganache, in case somebody asks. So again, we're gonna try a little bit of the wine again.
A lot of head nodding for the next hour. Wow.
Mm.
What I love with these first two, both being white chocolate and the Chardonnay, the weight of each other match, right? When, you know, you think about, we always use milk as an example for anything from really light, like almond milk, which really is milk, to half and half, which is really heavy. Both of the, you know, they're sort of medium, right? They're not overwhelming in weight, but it's like perfectly balanced. What did you think once you had the Chardonnay with that?
That orange just pops through, but it still like works with that Chardonnay.
Mm-hmm.
And that's the thing is like when you're tasting, and you know, I was blown away just with how balanced these are, you know, with the wine and the chocolate together. Just amazing experience.
Yeah, I really like it. And I mean, and then that honey, it's a subtle.
Yeah, it's not like overwhelming, but it's there. And that's what's cool about this is, you know, we taste a little bit of that orange, the honey, and you still taste the wine. It doesn't like do anything to it.
It didn't diminish any of the fruit flavors. It sort of brought these orange flavors that were there, but weren't really showing themselves before. And the cool thing, it seems like chocolate's like wine, where after you've enjoyed it, you're still getting those flavors long after. Yeah. 2 for 2 so far.
Yes. All right. And then, all right. So we'll go right into, did we do? Yeah. All right. So I think we're moving on with the cab. Here, see that.
Oh, no, I think we're sticking with the,
hold on. All right. Here it is. We're actually doing a little quick experiment on our next one, which is our rosemary. As you can see it, it's our little green one. So we're gonna cut that up a little bit.
smells so good.
Sorry, if you hear any dogs, there are dogs in the back, just kind of, they want to be a part of this, but we're not going to let them be a part of it. It's chocolate. So next time. All right. So we are going to do a little quick experiment with you guys. We're actually going to do our rosemary with the Chardonnay. So do a little sip of the Chardonnay. Again, this is white wine with a dark chocolate.
Your mind starts to tell you that's not normal, but
yeah.
That's so funky because it's like the aromatics, because I'm smelling the rosemary. The aromatics are really light and bright because they go well with those Chardonnay aromatics, but then the chocolate comes in, but they do really well together. It's like the best of both worlds. They're really nice and aromatic, like the little heavier chocolate. It's really
fun. And what's cool is like rosemary, you know, obviously it's very intense, but it just works with dark chocolate, but it also works with this wine. Just that herb from it just totally balances with this. And I think we're going to try it with our cab now.
All right, so warm up your palates, have a sip or two of that cab, and we're going to jump right into it. Now, you know, you just spoke about rosemary. The first thing, just smelling this, herbaceous, right? Rosemary, thyme. And then there's some red fruit, some darker fruit, everything from sort of like a red plum to blackberries, right? Really good little graphite there, which is really common. You've had this Cabernet how many times?
Probably too much. I can't remember the last time. Probably when I first started. So 12 years now.
So notice there's a little bit of drying, excuse me, drying. I guess I did say it right the first time. That's from tannin, comes from a few things with the skin, and it can be bitter, and chocolate can have some bitterness, right? If it's dark chocolate, but yours seems to not be that bitter, which is really nice.
It's a good quality chocolate.
It is. Yeah, it is. All right, let's do it.
So let's take another sip again. And we're going to try that dark chocolate now. A lot of fruit. That rosemary.
A lot going on. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah. I think I'm changing from when we, yeah. Wow. Yeah. It's, that's really good. Mhm. Perfect. Okay. So, we're really enjoying this. Hopefully you guys are too. I think that last pairing was just really well balanced. Seems like you still got some good flavors
Yes,
going on.
it's still lingering in my mouth right now.
So we want to vote on which of these first four or just those last two? Okay, so between the Chardonnay and the Cabernet, what pairing did you like more with the rosemary dark chocolate?
No, we're actually just debating like
Yeah.
I like it with the Chardonnay. So
Oh, look how even it was. That's
wow.
awesome.
That's really cool. See, and this is what's cool about this, right? Doing these wine pairings, experiences, and just kind of getting your mind going, like, how does that actually work? Chardonnay and dark chocolate. Because never I would ever think dark chocolate and a Chardonnay would ever go, but with the help of having some rosemary and some good quality chocolate, definitely helps for sure. I think it's just a perfect pairing. After I tasted that, I was just blown away. And hopefully you guys are just having that great experience as well. So yeah.
I think it's so cool to show that white wine will work. I don't think that means every white wine would work, right? If you think of like a Sauvignon Blanc or something that's really, really light and higher in acid, the chocolate is really quality chocolate would probably dominate it in a good way. But it's crazy because we earlier in the week, we sort of did a run through, and I don't know if it's because we were literally outside in a sensory garden with all these great aromatics, or because the red wine was warmer, but the first time I liked the Chardonnay better. And then this time I liked the Cab, so win-win.
Yeah, right.
Good job.
Yeah. Awesome. All right. So now we're going to do our lavender caramel. This is really good. It's just beautiful caramel. I'm still cutting it up here. As you can see, it's like super gooey inside. You can see that. Hopefully yours guys is all gooey as well too. So, so I think we're going to try our wine again.
Yeah.
And we're doing this with a Chardonnay, just to let you know. So the lavender is a dark chocolate shell with a nice and kind of creamy caramel inside, infused with some lavender. Let's try that.
What would this pair well?
You see that? I mean, just like,
Wow. And so when you taste wines, the fruit and floral notes, or when you smell them, that's from the grape itself in the winemaking process. But those non-fruit and floral notes, the creamy, the caramel, the nutty, that's all from the oak, which with both these wines spent time in.
yeah.
But I'm surprised having the creaminess. I thought I would get that, but the fruit still pops, which is great. It adds another element to the chocolate.
And what's cool is like I've heard this a lot when you taste wines with the Chardonnays, you know, that you get like a little bit of like butterscotch and like some toffee. So it like this is what I'm thinking about. Like this is like almost like a perfect pairing because you're getting that, you know, like the caramel, the toffee, the butterscotch, and then you know you have that little bit of lavender and that little floral in there that's helping it as well too. Yeah. So hopefully you guys are getting that as too. You know those flavors. It's just a lot of fun with this one.
So now with the Cab?
Now we're gonna do with the Cab.
Who saw that coming?
All right.
I have to say, the way I bit the chocolate was like shell first.
Yeah.
So I got that rosemary, and it literally just mimicked, it sort of just kept the wine, those herbaceous and fruit notes going. And then it was like, oh, now I get to have the caramel party. You know, really, really fun. That was good.
What's cool about this is like they're both two different experiences, right? So you're getting like this white wine, then you have this red wine, and it's just with this one chocolate with caramel, and like you're totally getting like these different like flavors in your mouth as well too, which is pretty cool.
Which is awesome. I mean, it makes sense. Like, why wouldn't you want to pair a Chardonnay that spent time in oak with something like this that mimics the flavor with the caramel? I think it's really eye-opening. And then I think this was pretty obvious too with all this
Right.
complexity. I thought we were supposed to cut it into quarters. What happened?
Well, here's the thing: if you quarter that one,
Yeah, it's
you're really not going to get that much caramel. It's going to be all over your platter. So
perfect. All right, so we're gonna do what we did with the chocolate prior. So let's take another poll and see if you all like the lavender caramel chocolate better with the Chardonnay or the Cabernet.
you can
What are you?
I'm set.
Yeah. Yeah.
Again, if you need to take a sip of water to kind of clean your palate, this is the time to do it.
Can you have a chocolate hangover?
You can, I think, yeah,
Mm-hmm.
yeah. But I'm kind of used to it. I eat a lot of chocolates. Oh, look.
Very cool.
Mhm.
Yeah.
All right. So Ben, what was your favorite?
Well, to be on.
What the winner was.
Oh. What was the winner?
So the winner was Chardonnay with lavender. That's pretty cool. I loved it with the Chardonnay, but for me, I was totally going with the red. That was just my. I like them both. Don't get me wrong, but I just with the red wine, the Cabernet and caramel, I just loved it. It was really great. It's just.
Mm-hmm. I mean, it's so funny because earlier in the week I was like riding the Chardonnay train, but I agree once again the caramel. But I think what's really interesting is I think you guys are really tuned into the aromatics and wine tasting. 75% of it is all about the smell and the aromatics. So I think it's really interesting. But it also makes sense. Like we said, the caramel, there is literally these notes of caramel from our oak barrels that are, that the Chardonnay spends time aging in. So it makes sense that it's a good pairing. I just think it's so cool that they are liking that because you won't see, it's sort of like food. The classic is like white wine with your white fish or red wine with your red meat. And that's great, but, experiment and you get great things like this. And so I think it could be, obviously it's the same with chocolate and wine, Chardonnay all the way. Very cool.
Yeah. I'm just still soaking it in. I just love chocolate. That's just, this is me. And of course, when you're wine country, I love some wine too. So, and I think we're ready to try our next one, which is our dark chocolate and orange. We're going to be doing that with our Cabernet. All right, I'm going to pour a little bit more wine. So I'm kind of running low over here, so I need some more Cabernet in here. And
Running low is a nice way of saying drinking fast.
Yes, yeah. So, well, it's my day off. This is the perfect time to do it. So,
Cheers.
cheers. All right. Again, when you put it in your mouth, let it just kind of sit there and melt in your mouth. Right off the bat, orange.
Mm-hmm. Wow.
Mm.
And it's like, it's right in between like a fresh orange and then like the candied, those orange slices.
Oh, yeah.
Like in between, it has that.
Almost like candy orange peels.
Mm-hmm.
Very similar to that.
Wow. What stands out to me, because I know we're entering the dark chocolate world, which is a little bitter, and then like I talked about, the tannins can be bitter, but high quality chocolate,
Yes.
a soft Cabernet. I'm not experiencing any bitterness whatsoever.
Yeah, and so you know, that's the most important thing when I was working with chocolate is finding a nice quality chocolate. And this is actually a 65% that I'm actually using. So it's not like an 80% was going to be really high in some cocoa. This is like almost in between, a little bit of fruitiness on it.
Mhm.
I would say almost like cocoa powder. If you notice what cocoa powder smells like, you almost get that a little bit, but not so intense. And this is why I love this chocolate. This is like my favorite chocolate. It's coming from Ecuador, and it's just very nice, very clean. So I stand by this one all the time. So
I think this is really cool because when we talk about wine and food pairings, it's sometimes similarities can come together or opposites can attract. And I think you're getting a little bit of both, but you're getting the opposites where it's like you get a lot of fruit with this glass of wine, but you're not going to talk citrus with Cabernet Sauvignon, but you got to enjoy all the fruit flavors that this wine brings. And then the orange came and it wasn't, they didn't fight each other. It was like, here's just a new level of fruit flavor to go on with that, which was really yummy.
Yeah, which was great because like I would never think any citrus going with the Cabernet. It just, so when we tasted it, I was just like, how is this working? And it just worked, and it just, it was so balanced, and I just appreciated that they worked together. So
I have a really quick question.
Yeah.
Because you talk about the chocolate from Ecuador, and you guys might have heard the word terroir, where we talk about, where the grapes are grown and where they're grown will affect them differently, and different characteristics will show off in the wine. Is there like, you like Ecuadorian chocolate? Do you know like what places you like?
Yeah. So here's the thing, like there's a lot of good chocolate companies out there, and they make amazing chocolate products. And a lot of them are coming from different areas. There's some coming from Ghana, South, like Africa, and there's some coming from Ecuador, and there's some from Peru. And, they all have that different characteristics like wines, so you get all those different like notes. Same thing with chocolate. Like you get almost like berry, you get some that are kind of sour. Some are like almost like with vanilla. And some with like coffee notes. So you definitely get almost even like tobacco or like tea.
It's very similar.
Yeah, like black tea or anything like that. So same thing with chocolate. I mean, you get those. I mean, they're grown in the Amazon, obviously, so they definitely have a lot of moisture, and so you just get those different notes from these cocoa pods. So yeah, I kind of treat it the same way as wine. There's going to have all these different notes, flavor profiles, and so every time I taste chocolates, it just blows my mind like what I'm getting. And some have spices, so which is really great, if you're doing a dark chocolate, especially with the Cabernet and stuff. And yeah,
sounds like, I feel like we should be able to do like a Netflix series of going to these.
Yeah,
I've been drinking. So, but it sounds cool. It sounds really cool to learn about the different flavors. Yeah. Awesome.
All right. So our next one is the cinnamon caramel, and this is which is our last one. It's a dark chocolate shell. And again, it's our 65%. So it's one of my favorites. All right. So again, try a little bit of your wine.
And we are doing this with the Cabernet Sauvignon.
All right. Let's try it.
Yeah. So good.
Again, when I was talking about spices, here I'm using the cinnamon caramel.
Wow. And that's my favorite chocolate, I think. Wow, that's so good. Now that chocolate's really helping bring out those oak and those baking spices.
Yep.
Wow.
Almost like holidays, we're like festive. This is one of our signatures. It's year round. We don't get rid of this.
That's really good.
Yeah, it's so good.
And it makes, like cinnamon, caramel, these are all things we talk about with wine that spend time in oak, and it makes sense that it's coming out, but it's so cool to see that the fruit and the wine is maintained, even though we're introducing this injection of yummy cinnamon caramel chocolate.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, it's just amazing. Yeah.
All right, so perfect. All right, so hopefully you were able to cut yours up and you have some You're not like Chef Buttercup. You have some left of each chocolate. And now it's time to experiment. Feel free to experiment on your own and let us know in the chat box. But I think what makes sense, I think try the orange dark chocolate with Chardonnay. I think that could be cool, right? We've seen already how the fruit can really help with the white wine. So I know I'm going to do that one right now.
Yeah, try it. And Sarah,
back to you.
Thank you so much. I know what my personal favorite was. I think it was the first one. I think it was the Meyer lemon with the Chardonnay. I'm not going to lie. That was really strong right off the bat. I love lemon anything. So for me, that was the best one by far. I actually bought multiple boxes just in case, because I wanted to be able to try, but then I wanted to be able to try afterwards. So I didn't even have to share my box, which was really nice. Later, I'll try again. I wanted to just update everybody on the matching grant. I am blown away by your generosity. Library commissioners, library staff, attendees, you are all donating, and we are now almost at the match, and I can't believe it. Thank you so much for your generosity. Each dollar counts, every one of you. Your donations matter to us. So I just want to say thank you again to everybody who has donated. Executive Director Ann Hammond just doubled her donation, and I just want to say thank you. Commissioner Karen Schneider just donated. Thank you so much. I really, really appreciate it. And now I want to talk about the Q&A. Several of you have already asked questions, and I have my own question for Robert. First off, since I already said my favorite tasting was the Chardonnay and the Meyer lemon. And so what kind of meal would you serve if you were going to eat that? If you're going to eat, you know, food other than the chocolates, what would you eat with the wine and the chocolate for that? And then I also, there's several questions on the chat, and maybe I'll let you take it away and I'll read them out to you. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. So you're asking, what would you pair besides a chocolate with a Chardonnay?
Oh,
I almost, what would be really good with that?
just any food. Any food.
Any
with the Chardonnay?
food.
Yeah, I mean, this Chardonnay is great because it's light enough and fruity enough to, you know, it pairs great with a body of water, right, by the pool, or a light salad. But I think of this with, you know, we've already touched on rosemary, but like a rosemary chicken, a pasta with the white sauce,
Or even gnocchi.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, gnocchi with the cream sauce, maybe a little bit of lemon in there. I mean, there's just so many applications with this wine. You know, if you're looking for something super light, you know, maybe with a little bit of acid in there. You know, you were saying chicken, a baked chicken, maybe with like
Maybe
lemon on
lemon
it.
roasted
Yeah.
with the rosemary.
Exactly.
Now we're talking.
Yeah. I'm getting hungry.
Yeah. And Sarah, I just want to say that that first pairing, the lemon, that's what we call in the industry a very crushable pairing. Yeah, that's one you could just keep going back and forth and be very, very happy.
I mean, I'm glad I bought 4 boxes, because I was going to give them as gifts, but now I don't know. Now they may get, you know, 1 less chocolate in every box, because that was delicious. You know, we had a question right off the bat when you were doing the chocolate mold, and you said you wouldn't do this with a Hershey's chocolate bar. And somebody said, well, why not? What do you have against Hershey's?
I have nothing against Hershey's. Honestly, I grew up eating Hershey chocolates when I was a kid, right? But you know, the chocolate's a little bit different. The quality is a little different than what I'm using, just because the viscosity on what I use is super fluid. So that means it's like, I like to call it runny. So it's just like liquidy, where Hershey doesn't have that same application. So it doesn't work. Nothing against Hershey. Hershey makes amazing products. It's just it doesn't work for this application though. But
And I think a way you could go ahead and, you know, buy a Hershey bar, and you might enjoy the experience, right? You like chocolate, you like wine, but I think you'll see the wines might dominate a little more. The pairings probably won't work as well, and you got to have high quality with high quality.
yeah, and you know, I think the first time ever trying chocolate was actually Hershey, and it was with the almonds inside.
Okay.
And I'd never had it before, and I was like, oh my God. You know, I'm talking about when I was just young. I was probably like maybe 8 years old or something, but having chocolate and almonds together, it was just like, oh my God, it's such a cool experience. So I still kind of remember those days, you know, when I eat my chocolate, and like when I first had it the first time, it always brings me back to my childhood memories. So yes, nothing against Hershey's, but you know, there's just a lot of chocolate out there that They make amazing products, and this is kind of what I chose for me, my personal experience. So.
And they're beautiful. Somebody else, Joanne, has a question, and she wants to know, how do these chocolates pair with sweet dessert wines? So she's a woman after my own heart.
So good question. So anytime we taste chocolates, they're all going to be different. They're all going to have the different notes. And the most important thing is you don't want your dessert to be sweeter than your sweet wine. So you want to find that balance between the two. Maybe adding a little bit more like salt in it usually helps out. So it doesn't like kind of lose that transition when you're tasting the wine and then tasting your chocolate, and then all of a sudden you're just tasting like all just sugar.
Yeah.
So that's the most important thing, is like when you're tasting, the sweet wines, just make sure they actually pair with, and there's a late harvest, there's ports.
I think the short answer is yes, and that's the classic pairing. But like you just touched on, it can be really intense, right? So when you have this intense chocolate flavors, unless you're a big fan of late harvest wines or port, I don't think you could do a full on. Yeah. You'd be looking for a hammock something right up. It's pretty intense. But yes, they will pair well together.
And we have another question. I think this one's specifically for Ben. What would you recommend for medium body, medium oaked Pinot Noir?
Milk chocolate. Wait, are we talking food in general or just chocolate?
Oh, that's a great question. I don't know. Maybe what kind of Pinot Noir would you recommend? And then what kind of chocolate would you recommend to go with it?
Yeah, okay. So with Pinot Noir, definitely milk chocolate, because Pinot Noir is sort of, we call it like the white wine with a red dress, right? It can be light, fruit forward. It has acid. There's tannin there, but just a little bit. That's why it's lighter in color. The skin is thinner. So I think dark chocolate would probably dominate it in a way. I think white chocolate would do pretty good, but you'd hope for it to be like a red fruit flavored white chocolate compared to citrus. But I would say milk chocolate with Pinot Noir. And food in general, Pinot Noir is super flexible. So, you don't want to go big steak, but anything from chicken to pizza and hamburgers.
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay, I've got a couple more. Can you make chocolate bonbons at home? Well, you can. Can the normal folks make chocolate bonbons at home? I know they won't look the same.
Well, you can. You can always do truffles if you don't have the certain equipment. You can always make the filling, which is the ganache. So when you actually mix them together, if you just let it sit, we like to call it crystallize. And what that means is actually when you mix the chocolate, your cream, and together, you actually just pour it into a pan, cover it with plastic so you don't get like any like skin on top of your chocolate. You let that set, and once it's set, you can either put it in a pastry bag, which is, it's kind of like the triangle bag where you can pipe it onto a tray, or if you Ziploc bag, that's kind of the inexpensive way to do it, where you put kind of like when you do buttercream, you put it in there right at the end or in the corner, snip it off, and you can just pipe it onto a baking tray, with lined parchment paper, let it set, you put it in the fridge, and then you can just roll them, just like little 1-inch truffle balls. If you don't have any access to like these chocolate molds that I just showed you, you can do it that way. You can cover them in chocolate, either like coating chocolate, and you can roll it into, if you want to put like nuts on it or coconut or any other textures like you could think of, graham cracker, or pistachios, those are some other ways you can do bonbons if you don't have access. And the techniques and stuff like that, sometimes it can be a little intimidating sometimes, because you saw what I did where you have to temper cocoa butters and stuff like that. So the most important thing is you can do truffles. Yeah. And they're classic truffles, so people love classic truffles.
Never say no truffles.
Yes.
Would you recommend that people purchase the molds and equipment you use to make the bonbons?
Well, just to let you know, the equipment I use is kind of expensive a little bit. So if you're really into doing it, you can find some on the internet that are kind of inexpensive. But it really depends. If you're going to be doing it a lot, then I would recommend it. But if it's something you're going to do once in a while, maybe just go in the truffles, the classic truffles where you just roll them is maybe the best bet to go.
It sounds like it might be better just to buy the wine and the chocolates and
Or,
have
or you could just buy them from me.
Yeah, I was going to say, where if they're interested in your chocolates, how do they?
Yeah, I mean, if you want to buy chocolates from us, we're at the farmers markets in Hillsburg, or you can actually look us up, as you see, Fleur Sauvage at gmail.com.
and the link is in the chat to go to their website.
Yes, and we're still going to be we're going to be going to Windsor, so hopefully we'll be there until the beginning of December. But holidays are around the corner, so we'll be doing free deliveries in Sonoma County. So, yeah.
Do you make any other flavors?
Yeah. So what I just showed you, that was kind of like half of the flavors. We do other ones like praline. We make
like a coffee.
We do a coffee.
Really
we do
good.
chocolate caramel. We actually have a 70% chocolate. We actually have milk chocolate and chai tea. It's just a beautiful combination. It's really good, and especially with the holidays coming up, chai tea and milk chocolate is just yum. And then let's see what else well, here's one of our sheets, but it's going to be changing, especially not everything, but a little bit of it. We're with the holidays coming up, we're going to be doing a little bit more holiday stuff like eggnog and ginger and what else are we making?
Oh yeah, the Mexican chocolate.
The Mexican chocolate is really good. I would say that's just good if you're into Mexican chocolate. It has beautiful spices like cayenne, some chili, vanilla. Oh my gosh, it's so good. So yeah.
That sounds amazing. All right, last question. We're still getting questions coming in, and don't worry, everybody, you can still send in questions, and we will have them on the foundation website. We'll have a blog that features all of these questions so that people can get their questions answered. But for right now, the last question is, say you bought 4 boxes of bonbons, just happen chance. How would you store these? And like temperature wise, how long could you store them? What would you do with them?
So I would store them in the fridge, in the box, closed. They're just gonna have a better shelf life if you have them in the fridge. And ours are about a month, a shelf life on them. But I recommend eating them the sooner the better, just because you have a better taste. They're not sitting there too long, or they can technically almost like lose the flavor at closer to the end. So I would recommend eating them before that. Yeah, so I would definitely store it in the fridge, and then always let them sit out, just for maybe about 30 minutes to an hour before you eat them, so that they're not so cold and you're not going to get like all that flavor. So if you just let them sit out, then they'll kind of almost like room temp, and then you'll get those beautiful notes of the chocolate and then whatever we're infusing it with.
Excellent. Thank you so much for joining us. I know that I learned a lot about how well chocolate and wine can go together. I mean, who knew? 2 of my favorite things, they go excellently together. And I know, I'm sure everybody else did too. Remember, if you guys are interested in learning more, you can always put it in the chat, or you can email us, contact us at the foundation. We will get your answers for you. And of course, in the chat, there's also information about how to contact Ben and Chef Buttercup. So if you have any questions, please feel free to reach out to them, and you can always continue to buy Fleur Sauvage chocolates, which they are delicious. They're at the Healdsburg Farmers Market. You can buy online, and we suggest that you do that. But for right now, I have really exciting news, because I just found out that we have reached our 1-to-1 match and our goal of raising $3,000. I want to thank each and every one of you for both joining us, for donating, for supporting us, for sharing on Facebook, for inviting your friends, for sharing the email and sending it out. Each one of you made a difference in this event and in raising over $3,000 today. Thank you so much. It is because of you that we can continue to support the priceless work of the Sonoma County Library. So thank you to Chef Buttercup. Thank you to everybody who made this possible. I really, in particular, want to thank our event chair, who's Judy Glenn. I want to thank the library fund development manager, Siri Tanger, who we could not have done this without, Helena Whistler, Bridget Hayes, Tom Hauser, and everyone who helped make this event a success. We will be doing an encore presentation. So if you joined late or you want to share or you would like to do the tasting again, which I know I will, we will send it out. It will be on YouTube beginning next Saturday, October 24th. So if we have your emails, we'll send you this email and you can always forward it on or watch the tasting again. And if you would like to join us in planning future events, this is our first virtual event, but it's not the last. Feel free to contact me. My name is Sarah Ortiz and my email is president@scplf.com, like Sonoma County Public Library Foundation.com. And that will be in the chat. And feel free to contact me at any time. We really appreciate everybody for both coming and supporting us. It makes all the difference. Your donations really make the difference in Sonoma County and is part of the reason why the library can continue to do the amazing work that they do. Thank you so much. And please have a good evening. I have to go make gnocchi with a light cream sauce and enjoy some Chardonnay. So I will see you all in the future. We'll have another event and we'll invite you all back. Thank you so much for joining us. Good night.
Good night.
Thank you. Good night.